So today for the light review, I'm interviewing Managing Director for ERCO, Chris Tiernan, getting his lowdown on the need for lighting showrooms. Good morning to you, Chris. Thanks for joining.
Good morning.
So
You're welcome.
I remember your Mayfair showroom, which is your offices as well, right? It's been around for a few years. I remember you had some design elements loosely associated with Werner Panton. Very nice space, and I think it was a go-to place for lighting designers and anyone that wanted to specify the high end of lighting. But have you found that use has increased with time, or what's the market response to it nowadays?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the space has always been very well utilized over very many years, and people may remember lots of different events for lots of different organizations. We even allowed the space to be used for perhaps the SLL or IALD or young lighters, women in lighting, lots of different other uses. But from a customer point of view, it's always been quite good. I think there's a lot of high-end residential where people really want to get much closer to product, so that's always quite good. And I would say certainly because of recent events, quite clearly the showroom has not been in use. In fact, as of right now, we're not encouraging it to be used for more than a one-on-one type meeting. So it's probably more recently changed, but it's always been in great use. You mentioned Panton. What actually happened was this place was set up in 1979, but it was in the late 80s, perhaps early 90s, that a complete renovation was done. And the original director here that set it up for the German family, if you like, the UK operation, he was from the Nordics, a Danish guy. And Werner Panton, hailing from those parts, he got him a commission to actually put some decorative elements in the showroom at the back. It's a little outside space, but it's a nice little breakaway. But of course, it's got a color wheel, and it just gives that slight impression. Perhaps I'll be revealing a secret to say that it's the only place in the ERCO world that doesn't strictly follow the corporate identity guidelines, because the use of something like that was sort of frowned upon for many years, but now a bit like the Pantone chairs that we still use in the Werner Panton chairs in the showroom. It's become synonymous with ERCO London, so now they love it.
Well, I mean, Panton's was a great designer, and I think you'll certainly get a lot of interest from Scandinavian designers for that. I mean, the fact you've got some of his stuff in there is amazing. It made me laugh because when they were talking about how the eye sensitivity to certain wavelengths, and then they found and Panton is yellow, and he had a lot of yellow. I remember he had yellow flowers and things, and then they changed it to a different color. I thought, oh, that's going to muck up ERCO showroom, which it probably didn't. But
I think we've stuck with the yellow flowers internationally. That is still a corporate image that still remains.
So what type of client is most likely to come to your showroom, and for what reason? Is it generally specific to ongoing projects, or is it on a ad hoc basis almost?
Oh, it's a huge mix. If you were to think about it from a statistical point of view, I would say probably residential clients and architects and lighting designers make probably more use of it on balance, because as I said, they want to get closer to the detail, and it's a great space for everybody to meet and use. So from a numbers point of view, it's probably the most, but of course museums, galleries as well. Again, they want to come in and talk about some specifics that are project related. And the lighting design community, are always free to use it with their clients too. So I'd say high-end residential is probably the most in terms of footfall, followed then by the gallery museum world, and then all sorts of different things thereafter. But it's probably, I would say, in the last 2 years, the use has increased for lots of different reasons. But it's only really the last few months that's given us cause to think, well, how might it be used in the future? What will change? We've already had some one-on-one meetings with clients already in the showroom because they still want to push on with their work. But we're making a point at the moment of saying that we won't invite groups. It's not likely people would want to accept an invitation anyway right now. But we imagine the groups would be smaller, and that we have to take care clearly of certain sort of housekeeping things, make sure that there's, you know, gloves or hand sanitizers, that kind of thing. So there's a few ways we have to change, but I think we have to appreciate, just like a lot of our customer base isn't in the office right now, that that's going to have a direct effect on footfall in the showroom. So for now, it's understandable. For the future, I think it's just as likely to be used. But a bit like traveling on trains or in aeroplanes, we all have to behave a bit differently and take more precautions, and that may be the same with showrooms.
I think, I don't know about your thoughts, but with Brexit on the horizon, or having gone, I imagine the availability of samples, getting things quickly may be impacted slightly. But also with the coronavirus, I think there may be a trend to avoid things like Frankfurt and ERCO. I don't know if that will bring the likes of your showrooms into greater relief, as it were. I'd imagine it would. What do you think about that? Because it's really important to see the product, right? But also, do you give the customers the ability to see the effect of the light?
Yeah, I mean, to deal with the last bit first, yes, we have the ability to show products. We have a blackout showroom, so we have automatic blinds that close the space in. We can show exterior products, wall washing, all the different lenses. Everything is geared up to be able to show what can be achieved, which is another reason why residential is quite important for that. But museums and galleries as well, we can actually configure the showroom for specific projects. That's not the issue. I think coming on to the Brexit question, the reality is, you know, business is usually already geared up. I mean, Brexit for us is almost like it's already been decided, you know, we have to get on with it. There are tariff structures and all sorts of ways. I don't think the flow of samples or anything like that will be an issue. I think that's pretty straightforward. Business will go on. I think using the showroom for events is going to be increased because of the lack of shows. Frankfurt's a good example, but you know, goodness knows, maybe the UK shows may be affected, even if they were put on, whether people would still go. I think smaller numbers, concentrated discussions and presentations may be the way forward, and that might increase the use of the showroom because we can appeal to practices that just want to come as a practice on their own. A lighting design, you know, group of people, or an M&E consultant, a group of people, that we can arrange for them to come here and have a mini show. And maybe that's got more scope in the future than it might have had. Yeah,
that makes sense. Because it's really important when you're dealing with products that look fairly similar aesthetically, maybe more so in your market where you're dealing with like the light downcast and things like that, to be able to show people the effect of the light, because otherwise it's just a circle in the ceiling, right? Or it's just another downlight or track light. So actually, I'd be interested to know if, I don't know if you had any, I mean, you don't sound German, you're not German, are you?
No, I'm not.
No, I just wondered.
It's a bit of a Welsh twang, but it's waning now. I
did get that. I wasn't going to insult, not that it's an insult to call you German, but the Welsh twang did come out slightly. And it's very different to a German accent. But I just wondered how the UK market compared to the German market. Perhaps you haven't had any exposure in that sense. Because I know my view perhaps was that on the continent they had greater access to wholesalers with a maybe high level of showroom input, quality of and samples and things. How does the German market compare? Do you know?
Well, I think for us as a business, we're not really through the wholesale channels. in terms of their showrooms or spaces, it doesn't really help us. What we tend to do, Germany is a much bigger geography than we are. So although we have one head office location, there are multiple satellite offices. So it might be in Munich or Hamburg or Berlin. So there are showrooms in many places across Germany, which are operated as an office space for the local people, but also as a showroom demonstration space. And that applies to us internationally. We've got major offices in the major European cities, which, like this, started in the late 70s. But even in the US, recently we opened on the West Coast in LA, a new showroom. So we do believe in the showroom principle because, as you rightly say, it's about light performance more than the aesthetic of the product. Clearly, the second is important, but if you want to differentiate, for us it's about being able to show the performance of light. And what does wall washing mean? What does it look like? And we can wall wash in our showroom with 3 or 4 different methods, and just using one, nobody can tell where it's coming from, to illustrate the point about light and architecture, not product. So the showrooms are very important, and I think the fundamental question everybody's asking is, will showrooms be as important in the future? And I think, as we've mentioned, it'll change, but whether it's in Germany or here, we've no intention of reducing the number of showrooms, but we are thinking very hard about how we can capitalize and help customers better. We've done a lot of virtual stuff, as I'm sure everyone will appreciate, with Teams and other things, but we've invested in a little bit of kit in the showroom to use a slightly better quality camera, to be able to not just give a talk or a presentation, or not just push out some slides, but actually try to show some visual things in the showroom, including spotlights or whatever it might be.
And that, I think the point you made is a very good one. As a lighting designer, I really need to see that product, and I need to make sure that I know how it's going to go in the ceiling, how it's going to work in a space. So getting that look and feel almost sometimes can make your mind up on whether you're going to use that product or not, because if you're not 100% certain about how it's going to perform, and you can't take it for granted that what they say, the manufacturer says, is true, you need to see it, don't you? So unless you can get your hands in it, the showroom is always going to be there. I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add. Otherwise, I'll wrap it up there. Have you got anything else you want to add?
No, that's fine. I think that the point you make is right. People do want to see, and I shouldn't be, but I'm often surprised when people make a final decision. It's kind of the icing on the cake because they see what can happen. The only point I would add is things like color temperature and color rendering are very difficult to replicate even with the best technology, unless you're physically looking. And to have people in the showroom see and choose really does make a difference. So another reason why showrooms, I think, will be here to stay.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for that. I'm going to stop this now.